It is an unwritten rule to never trash talk to great players, but it seems like some guys have to learn that lesson the hard way when it comes to Luka Doncic. Behind the boyish looks lies a fierce competitor who loves nothing more than taking other players' hearts from them, and you won't believe the players that Luka has owned. So let's take a look at the NBA players who have been dominated by Luka Doncic after talking trash to him. Let's start off with a European big who has found himself on the wrong side of plenty of highlights in the past few years. Rudy Gobert. The trouble for Gobert started in the regular season. During a closely contested game between the Jazz and the Mavs, Gobert did two things to get Luka angry. The first was tossing him the ball after Luka missed a halftime buzzer beater.
Luka short on the attempt at the buzzer.
This is generally seen as a sign of disrespect, as the player is basically saying, "Better luck next time, kid," when they toss you the ball like that. Now, of course, Luka has been part of a basketball culture his entire life, so he knew exactly what Gobert was doing. That's why he tossed the ball back at Gobert. The next sign of disrespect came the following quarter when Gobert stepped on Luka's foot and made him trip and fall.
What do you think? I don't think that's anything.
And so Luka kept these two things locked in his memory bank for when he saw the Jazz in the playoffs. He made it a point to attack Gobert every opportunity he could get, including taking the big man in the paint, faking him out of his boots, and then scoring an and one on him.
For Kid in Dallas, Doncic trying to go right at Gobert.
Followed by letting the entire arena know that he can't guard him. Luka really is one mean dude, but it seems as if all the great ones have a bit of petty in them. Another person who didn't get the memo? Mo Wagner. Mo Wagner. During the 2022 regular season game between the Magic and the Mavs, things became chippy because of how badly the Mavs were beating the Magic, mainly due to Luka's magical playing ability. So Wagner took things a bit too personally, yelling "and one" in Luka's face after one of Wagner's teammates scored on Luka.
They're my sons in a score.
This, of course, didn't sit well with Luka, who needed his teammates to separate him from Wagner as he called the German player every name under the sun, and even went as far as asking who he was. Ouch, talk about some disrespect. And unfortunately for Wagner, his 15 minutes of fame would extend a bit longer as the Mavs rematched the Magic a few weeks later and Luka hunted Wagner every play he could in order to score on the big man. After one bucket, he even said that Wagner was too small to guard him and can't play. Luka really needs to chill sometimes because his trash talking might end up making a grown man cry one day. Another player that got on Luka's bad side was the Frenchman Rudy Gobert. So what does Luka have against his fellow European players? Well, unfortunately for them, Luka seems to have a memory of an elephant, as he never forgets the slightest signs of disrespect. But it's not just the players who have ended up on Luka's bad side. In the past, even coaches have caught strays from the young superstar. Just ask Luke Walton. Luke Walton. Now, this took place a few years earlier when the Mavs faced off with the Kings in 2022. At the time, Luke Walton was the head coach of the Kings, and he attempted to get into Luka's head by basically saying that he had the refs on his side. It is rare to see a coach trash talk a player, so it was no doubt odd for Luka to hear his name being yelled by the opposing team's coach, and then have that coach say, quote, "Luka, do me a favor and give him your autograph after the game." Now, of course, Walton was talking about the ref. To this, Luka responded, telling Walton not to say things like that or he'll regret it. And regret it he did, as Luka scored the next couple of baskets and put the game well out of reach for the Kings. Imagine having to guard an unguardable player like Luka only to have your own coach rile him up and make him even more deadly. You'd think Walton would know not to test the great ones, as he played for several years with the great Kobe Bryant. We've got players, now coaches, so the next logical progression is to talk about an entire team. The Clippers. The Clippers and the Mavs have had a rivalry brewing these past few years. This started in 2020 when the Clippers eliminated the Mavs from the playoffs despite Luka hitting one of the most memorable game-winning playoff shots in recent memory.
Back to Doncic.
This rivalry continued the following year where once again the Clippers eliminated Luka and the Mavs. So although the Clippers have gotten the best of the Mavs both times the teams have faced off, Luka has gotten some revenge on a few individual players. First is the pest Pat Beverly. Pat Bev is known for getting under the skin of virtually every player that he goes up against. He's the definition of a player you hate. Unless he's on your team, then you love him. Bev was attempted to throw Luka off his game several times by doing some borderline dirty tactics, otherwise known as veteran moves of pushing, jersey grabbing, fouling without fouling too hard. But none of that has really deterred Luka, who averages 25 a game against Bev in his career, including several times calling Bev too small to guard him right to his face after a tough bucket. The same goes with the Clippers' Terrence Mann. Last year, Luka got a technical for calling Mann too effing small after scoring an easy bucket on Mann's head. This also resulted in the two going head-to-head and needing their teammates to separate them. And this wasn't the first time the two went head-to-head. During a preseason game, things got heated between the two after Mann slapped the ball from Luka's hand after the refs had called a stop to the game. It just seems like every time Luka goes against the Clips, he has a personal vendetta. That might be why he averages a staggering 32 a game against them, despite the team having lockdown defenders like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Those aren't the only stars who have ended up on Luka's highlight reel. The most famous whooping was reserved for the one and only Devin Booker. Devin Booker, regarded as one of the best young players in the league, Booker and Luka faced off against each other in the Western Conference semifinals. The Suns had the best record in the NBA and looked to be the heavy favorites to win the championship. Their star player, Devin Booker, is known for his trash talking. In fact, Joel Embiid has even gone on record to say that D-Book talks the most trash in the entire league.
I don't know. I don't think people know that he talks a lot.
I'm sure you heard something last
yes.
night. I'm sure you heard something last night.
But he's always talking, literally.
And Embiid would know a thing or two about trash talking, but like every good story, the seeds of an epic climax are planted early on. In this cautionary tale, the trash talking actually began after the Suns took a commanding 2-0 lead on the Mavs. After the second game, reporters asked about the Suns' game plan for attacking Luka. The two stars, Booker and Chris Paul, smirked and gave some media-savvy responses to the question, but if you can read between the lines, then you'll know they were poking fun at Luka's lack of defensive abilities. So let's recap what happened. In Game 5 of the playoffs, the Suns smacked the Mavs, beating them 110-85. But there were two infamous moments that occurred in the game that have gone down in the NBA history books as a prime example of what can happen if you poke the bear. One of them was when Booker was fouled on a layup and pretended to be hurt and exaggerated the foul, which he then dubbed as and the other was a heated confrontation with Luka as he tried to rip the ball from Luka's hands in order to inbound the ball. After the game, backstage cameras caught Luka telling his teammates that and immediately, NBA fans all around the world got flashbacks to Michael Jordan talking about how easy it is to trash talk when you're ahead. A real baller does it regardless of the score. Now at that moment, it was clear that the Suns had messed up. After dropping 33, 11, and 8 in the next game, Luka extended the series to a must-win Game 7. Everyone still thought the Suns would pull it off, but Luka put on a performance to remember as he routed the Booker Suns 123-90, in which Booker only managed 11 points while Luka had 35. So it is safe to say that if you're beating Luka, just do it quietly and don't make him angry. So if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell beside it so that you're notified the next time we upload a new video. And with that being said, you just watched NBA players get dominated by Luka Doncic. We'll see you next time.